I became interested in science when I was in high school. One summer I attended the National Science Foundation summer program, and we spent about 6 or 8 weeks at our high school studying chemistry and mathematics. And after that I was very interested in going to a career in science. The point that I decided I wanted to be a research scientist or to have a career in chemistry that involved doing research was when I was actually still in undergraduate school, and some of the laboratory courses I took actually very interesting, and you realize you could learn much more and go more in depth in that if you focus on a specific area. So I decided another choice I had was going to medical school. So to make a decision whether to go to medical school or to stay in the chemistry. And it was very interesting because at the time that I came along, it was discouraged if you were planning to marry to also be a doctor. And so my professor was encouraging me to get a master's instead of going to medical school. But I decided to kind of bridge between those two and become a PhD chemist in the area of biochemistry instead of going to medical school. My current field came because in graduate school I did a lot of separations, chromatography work in order to separate the bacteriophages that grew. Had to separate the RNA and the protein code, so to separate the components. So I began very early to be involved in the separation science. Then again, my first job, I was again quite related to needing to do cleanup of separations in the work that I did at the first company, which was Dow Chemical. And as I looked into the new area that was coming, which was this whole field of biotechnology, I could see where this ability to do chromatography or separations would play an important part. And so starting with a company like Waters, where they were needing to have to develop products for the area of separation, this is how I ended up coming to Waters Corporation. One of the most rewarding aspects of research is discovering something new. In my previous job at Dow Chemical Company, I got 3 patents, and that was very exciting to do work that was novel enough and unique enough that you would be granted a patent. So I feel that that's a real reward, is to do work that is so novel that you will have a patent for it, and seeing your name on a patent, I think that's a very big reward. My advice to students considering a career in science is to get a really good background in writing and oral communications. It's not important to just do your work, but it's also important to be able to write up your work very well, to be able to publish what you do. And only if you take writing courses and do very well with developing your writing skills can you do that. The other thing that's important is to do presentations at conferences and meetings. So you want to have good oral communication skills. So my advice to students who want to go into science is to get the science that you need, but also strengthen your communication skills. Undergraduates that are involved in research is to do it well, repeat your work, don't just accept one result, to do it multiple times, try to do it 3 times if possible. Sometimes you only get that result twice. Pay real attention to what you're doing, I would say, and pick topics that have interest that have interest in the public eye, or if you're working in research like still doing your graduate work, you want to make sure you're working in an area that research professor has interest, because it's very tough to get that work completed if it's not an interest area of that professor. So you need to spend time really deciding who you're going to work with during your graduate years and your interests versus their interests. Well, I think the other thing I'd like to add is that because you start with a major in chemistry and do research, it doesn't set the path for the rest of your life. And I've mentioned more than once that I'm now in marketing. But I spent quite a few years doing research, as I mentioned, the patents, getting new products done through research, but gradually moved from a point where I was in the lab all the time to more and more customer interaction, going out and presenting, not at national meetings, but also for the widest customers, who are a lot of the pharmaceutical industry, and presenting in their companies, till I realized that there was another role that I as a scientist could play. And that was to make sure that our communications to their customers was scientifically based. And in marketing, you can do that. You can be involved in interacting with the customer, but you can also speak the language of the customer because you have the scientific background. So one comment for undergraduates is that you don't have to stay with the hard science. Once you have that degree, you can branch out and use that background in different ways. The most important thing about your undergraduate or your graduate studies is getting the basics, because you don't always do what you do when you come out of school, what you were studying in school. I think it's important learning how to learn. That's the big factor. So you keep your mind open and eyes open to what's next and just understanding how to learn.